Hello, good evening, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Tuesdays with Mitch, where I'm your host and fellow paralegal here at Proner and Proner, Emmeline. And every Tuesday, we sit down live with the expert himself, Mitchell Proner, a personal injury attorney with over 30 years of experience, to answer your burning questions or any fun topics that might be useful in the personal injury world. How are you, Mitchell?
Pretty good, Emmeline. Another Tuesday presenting information. Hopefully, people find it interesting if they have a situation where they need to know their rights after an incident involving injuries. And tonight's topic is, as you know, motorcycles.
We're going to keep the motorcycle theme going. If you missed last week's episode, you could still go back and watch it. It was how much is my motorcycle accident case worth in New York? So if you're interested, go back, watch it. We're also available on all major platforms for podcasts. So find us under Proner and Proner as well, and you could listen to it as well. So today we're going to talk about how to prove that a motorcycle accident wasn't your fault. And knowing that motorcycle accidents and motorcyclists have a bad rep, this might be a good one for you to tune into if you are interested or know a motorcyclist or a motorcyclist yourself. So let's jump into the questions. Mitchell, what are the key pieces of evidence to prove that a motorcyclist was not at fault for the accident?
So, the first part of the case is, where did it happen? Every road has its own particular engineering. It could be an intersection, it could be a somebody pulling out of a parking lot, it could be somebody switching lanes on a multi-lane roadway or highway. But every particular incident, it has to happen somewhere by definition. And how it happened often involves where it happened, because the laws change based upon the road lines, whether it's a broken white line or a double yellow line, or it's a shoulder, or it's an intersection. So the actual area where it happened is important, and you can document where it happened with your cell phone. So that's the first issue: is where did it happen? What were the lights? What were the sequence of the lights? Was there a parking lot? Was there a stop sign? Was it in front of a house? Oftentimes, because vehicles are in motion, where it happened might not be where the police indicated where it happened, because the police will indicate where they investigated. But if the vehicles are in motion, they're probably going to move at the point of impact and post impact. So let's assume it happened on a roadway with a 30 mile per hour speed limit. A vehicle moving 30 miles per hour travels at 45 feet per second. And the laws of physics state that a body in motion will remain in motion until it meets an equal and opposite force. That's the basic laws of Newtonian physics. So what's going to happen is, even after impact, if brakes are applied, there still is a stopping distance. And until the brakes are applied, there's reaction time. So if they're moving at 30 miles an hour, they're probably going to continue moving at 30 miles an hour until brakes are applied. And reaction time to an unanticipated event could be a second and a half. At 30 miles an hour, that's 45 feet per second. That's already 60 feet that the vehicle moved. Then there's stopping distance. Now, motorcycles might not stay upright. Interestingly, because I've put a lot of engineers on the stand that do accident reconstructions, the typical motorcycle with both wheels locked up has the same coefficient of friction as a motorcycle sliding on its side. So it's probably going to travel the same distance, but it's going to continue to travel. So where it happened and how it happened might not be what's indicated on the police report. And that could be important to determining fault. Second of all, lighting conditions and roadway conditions can be documented. Now, lighting is very difficult to get with ordinary photography. At night, if you don't have a flash, your camera might take low lighting photos and make it look like it's lighter than it actually was at the time. But if it's raining and the roadway's wet, you can usually get that. You can get that pretty well. Or if it's dry and sunny, you can get that pretty well also. Additionally, there might be witnesses. And so many times people come to my office and they say, oh, yeah, a witness showed up and said they saw the other vehicle do this and that, ran the stop sign. And did you get their name? No, but the police officer has it. And then we get the police report and there's no names. There's no phone numbers. There's no contact. And we contact the police officer. No, they don't have it. And that witness is lost. So if there is a favorable witness, don't count on the police taking that information for you. What you can do is you can take your cell phone and say, do you mind if you just repeat what you said for my phone so I can record it? They should say yes. If they say no, I don't want to get involved, then they're probably not going to show up in court anyway, and they're not a reliable witness. But if they say yes, record them saying, yes, I saw the other vehicle run the stop sign. And then say on the video, what's your name? What's your contact information? Ask them for their phone number and dial their phone number. Make sure it rings and they pick up. So, you're not getting a wrong phone number. Now you have a lockdown contact for a witness, and that witness could make the difference because a witness can testify to what they observed. Whereas a police officer, if they show up afterwards, their testimony might not be admissible because they didn't observe it. So you want to get that witness information. Another item that's worth getting is damage. Where's the damage to your vehicle, your motorcycle? Is it just from the ground, or is there paint from the other vehicle? Where's the damage on the other vehicle? Is there a scuff mark on the tires on the other vehicle? They might deny contact, and that scuff mark might prove your case. So the damage to the vehicles can be important. Lastly, if you get an attorney right away, the attorney could surveil the area and might get surveillance videos. I have a case where we just won a motion for summary judgment because we got a security video from a building. And it showed contact between my client's vehicle and a truck passing by. And right in the motion papers, I included the video. And the judge granted summary judgment, meaning that my client wasn't at fault as a matter of law. And interestingly, they said my client was in a no parking zone. Didn't matter. We won the motion based on the video. But we had to get involved right away. Those videotapes that are secured are usually taped over within 48 to 72 hours. So getting an attorney to conduct an investigation right away, that can make the difference.
Now, let's go back to your first point that you were making when police might get some information wrong, like the location. What if the police report says that I or the person that was injured was at fault of the accident, but I or the person that sustained the injury knows that's not true?
Typically, you got to get a lawyer involved. You could say that I'm going to go to the police precinct and talk to the chief or whatever you're going to do. No. We had a case. It was up in Syracuse, and a guy was on a motorcycle, and a truck was turning left. And the truck turned left in front of the motorcycle into a parking lot, and the motorcyclist hit the front cab of the truck, sustaining very serious injuries. The police arrived afterwards, and they said that the motorcycle left 180 feet of skid mark prior to impact. 180 feet of skid mark prior to impact. So I said to the police officer, 180 feet of skid mark. I said, did you measure it? He said, yes. I said, and the thickness, was it 6 inches wide, 8 inches wide, 2 inches wide? And he said, about the standard width of a motorcycle. I said, what's that? He said, 4 inches. I said, okay. I said, was there one line or two lines? He said, one line. I said, was it straight or did it swerve? Did it move back and forth in the lane? He said it was straight. So I asked him if he was a rider. He said no. I said, if a motorcycle has two wheels and they're both locked up, well, the motorcycle would have to have the rear wheel directly in front of the front wheel the entire time, 168 feet, in a perfectly straight line to not leave two skid marks. Now, if the vehicle had anti-lock brakes, it wouldn't skid at all. Do you know if the motorcycle had anti-lock brakes? No, I don't know. Did you know motorcycles have anti-lock brakes? Some of them, not all of them. No. Okay. Then on top of that, I said, if it didn't have anti-lock brakes, some brakes are linked and some aren't. Do you know whether or not this motorcycle had linked brakes where the front brake and the rear brake link and stop at the same time regardless of force applied? No. Regardless of that, do you know how impossible it is for a motorcyclist to keep one wheel directly behind the other as they're skidding for 168 feet? No idea. Typically, the rear wheel is going to swim a little bit. And if it swims too much, you're going to high side and you're going to roll. On top of that, you get most of your stopping distance from the front wheel. But if you're using just strictly front wheel for 168 feet, no rear wheel, you're probably going to end up going over the handlebars. Probably. And most often, if there's just one skid mark from one wheel, it's the rear wheel, that the rider's leaning on the rear wheel, and it won't be a straight line. Anyway, the police officer by the end agreed, yeah, that probably wasn't from the motorcycle. That might have been from like some trailer. And we ended up winning the case. But I don't think that's going to happen without an experienced attorney that's familiar with motorcycles and engineering. So if the police report is wrong, you still have a shot if you have the right attorney.
If you guys missed last week's episode, I don't know if the viewers know, but Mitchell Proner is actually a motorcyclist himself. How long have you been riding for, Mitchell?
Well, I'll tell you, I was riding this past Saturday and I got caught in the rain 4 times. And it was cold and it was wet. And motorcycles don't have windshield wipers. But that's part of riding. If you're gonna, I rode through multiple states. What I can say is, when you're riding in the rain, the most dangerous time to ride is when the rain first starts, because that's when the oil on the roadway dissipates and it can create really slick surfaces. At that point, you're usually better off pulling over if you can. Beyond that, for all motorists, riding in the rain is dangerous because when it snows, people usually adjust their speed. When it rains, people don't adjust their speed, and a vehicle could hydroplane, and you better leave an extra space behind you and in front of you just to be aware that not every rides or drives carefully. That being said, I have been riding for, uh, I would say, at least 40, over 40 years, which makes me a pretty experienced rider. I've had motorcycles my whole, just from when I was a teenager until the present. So it's a long time.
And I would say there's nobody else to represent a fellow motorcyclist rather than a rider themselves. I do want to take this time to let you guys know that consultations are always free and confidential at Proner and Proner. Please always feel free to contact us if you have anyone that knows anyone that's had a personal injury case, regardless if it's motorcyclist or not. We're always here to answer any of your questions or concerns that you might have, and we'd be happy to represent you if the chance is given. So 1-800-321-1234. We're always here and happy to help. Now, I want to bring in everything that you were saying together. What should an injured motorcyclist do immediately after the accident? So we gathered get witness information. What are other important things that a motorcyclist should do immediately after the accident?
First off, call 911. Your health is the most important thing. And I've had numerous cases where people thought they were fine and they weren't. Unfortunately, uh, some of my clients, I ended up dealing with their family members because they didn't make it. And they thought they were okay at the scene. I have one guy who called his wife, said, I had an accident, I'll be home, I'll be fine. He died. And sometimes that immediate aftermath of an incident involving injuries is crucial for your well-being. You might not understand the extent of your injuries. So the first thing to do, call 911. Don't refuse the ambulance because you want to stay with your bike. Get yourself checked out. You could always get another bike. You can't get another you. So that's the first thing, is be concerned about your health and call it for an ambulance. Don't worry about the ambulance bill. A good lawyer can help you out with that. Don't worry about your motorcycle. Your health's most important. Call 911. That's the first thing, is worry about your health. Second of all, while you're waiting for the ambulance to arrive, if you can, take out your phone and take some videos. Gather witness information. Look around. There might be some points of access or surveillance that an attorney could then use to leverage the information to prove that you aren't at fault for the incident. Get witness statements if possible. When the police come and you speak to the police, you need to tell them what the other driver did wrong. That's in your interest. You're under no legal obligation to say what you did wrong. Admissions are always admissible as an exception to hearsay. You're not under any legal obligation to say what you did wrong. Then after that, get yourself help. Tell the doctors everything that's bothering you. I've had numerous cases where people thought, oh, you know, I'm fine. I'm fine. My neck hurts. My back hurts. Meantime, they didn't even realize they broke their ankle. Tell them everything that bothers you. Get yourself checked out. Documenting your injuries will help me to get you the compensation you deserve, or any other attorney you decide to hire. Medical records will prove the injuries. Without medical records, there's no proof of your injuries, unless you've got serious road rash and you can take photos of that. And that would be a good idea too. If you got road rash or black and blues that might not be in the hospital record, but 2 days later you're all black and blue, take photos. Take photos with something to capture the date. Buy a newspaper and put it underneath your leg that you're taking a photo of so that you can show the headlines match. And don't give any statements to any insurance carriers without speaking to a qualified attorney first. The insurance companies are not your good neighbors. They're not like a good friend. They're big businesses. They collect as much as possible in premiums and pay out as little as possible in claims. And you have the right to be prepared before you give any statement. And you should exercise that right to get prepared before you give any statement to any insurance carrier. You do have to report the incident to your carrier, or they won't provide you coverage. But if you get in touch with an attorney, the attorney can notify your insurance carrier for you. That way, you don't make any statements that might compromise your claim.
And now, how can a motorcyclist prevent being blamed for an accident that was someone else's fault, especially with the bad rep that motorcyclists do get? What's something that could prevent them from being blamed for an accident?
A lot of attorneys would say they like to represent motorcycle accident victims because uh, they know that they could involve serious injuries and might be a big case. But when it comes time to settle them or go to trial, they might accept that nonsense that, oh, nobody likes motorcycles. You want an attorney that's tried motorcycle accident cases, that knows he doesn't have to take a low ball offer because he's prepared to try the case. I've tried motorcycle accident cases in over 30 jurisdictions, every type of motorcycle accident case possible. That doesn't mean I have to try them all, but the insurance companies share information and they know that we're ready to go the distance, that we're not going to take a low offer just because somebody's on a motorcycle. And you got to follow all the steps to exercise your rights. Document the incident, go to the doctor, and get the right lawyer.
Any other evidence that we didn't touch base on that a motorcyclist needs to win a personal injury case?
The only thing I didn't discuss is it's a good idea to keep any damaged clothing or protection equipment. So if you're wearing a helmet, save it. Don't throw it out. Safeguard it. Put it in a plastic bag. Don't throw it on the ground in the garage. Those scuffs might prove a head injury. Or torn clothing or ripped gloves. Save it. Put it in a bag. Safeguard it. That's proof. That's evidence. That could be admissible. One time, uh, we had a guy riding a motorcycle. It was uninsured, unlicensed, and my guy had a serious criminal record that they brought up in court, and the judge said it's admissible to show what type of character he was. And they even brought up the fact that his mother once called the cops on him for burglary. And but we actually brought the motorcycle into the courtroom and showed it to the jury to show that this it was a tow truck backing up, that where it hit the vehicle on the side, and it showed a dent on the side by the floorboards. So it could have happened the way the tow truck driver said, and we won the case. And it was in a tough venue. It was in Suffolk County, Long Island. So it was a tough case. So the damaged gear and the damage to your bike, don't get it repaired until you've preserved the evidence, until you've had an attorney say, yes, I've preserved that evidence. It's set, because there's a doctrine called spoliation of evidence, where if you get rid of evidence, it can be used against you.
We also have an exciting event coming up this coming Saturday. That is May 31st. Do you want to tell the viewers a little bit about this event?
Yeah, we've sponsored the food for the Abate of New York 5 boroughs motorcycle run, where there's a police escort for the 5 boroughs Abate, and it's a nice run. I've done it numerous times. You get all sorts of riders show up, and the police block off the roadways and they take you through all 5 boroughs of the city. The run itself takes about an hour and a half, and you go through everything from Manhattan, Brooklyn, the Bronx, Staten Island, Queens, and you end up back having a big lunch. And the lunch is going to be Brooklyn. So it's 5 boroughs of bait. And you can just Google 5 boroughs of bait run, and you'll see it. The police, before the run, my personal experience is they check registrations. So if your bike's not legal, don't think you're going to show up for the run and not have a problem. But if your bike is legal and you want a nice run through the city, there's a lot of motorcycle clubs showing up. BAIT is American Bikers Aiming Towards Education. It's a motorcycle rights organization in New York, and we're sponsoring the food for the event.
So just so you guys know, this is something that this firm, especially Mitchell Proner, does take very seriously. Super passionate about motorcyclists, and within the community, always going to events, giving various speeches in different parts of the country. So if you're ever interested, just keep a lookout and listen to our podcast, review our videos here at Tuesdays and Mitch to stay up to date. I do want to wrap up this episode. Is there anything else you want to say, Mitchell?
Yes, thank you, Emmeline, for sharing this time with me another time, and I'm lucky to have you. You're a great host and a great paralegal, and thanks to everybody for listening.
Okay, awesome. It's great being here every Tuesdays with you, Mitchell. Again, free consultations, always confidential. 1-800-321. That's how. That's how.
My ringtone.
You see, that's his ringtone on a motorcycle. But again, free and confidential consultations here at Proner and Proner, 1-800-321-1234. Tune in every Tuesday with Tuesdays and Mitch. Proner and Proner, follow us on all of our social media platforms. Thank you for tuning in, guys.
Bye-bye.
My name is Demetrios Veselakis. So I was at a stoplight and somebody rear-ended me. I didn't feel anything, but then after a certain amount of time, I started feeling pain in my lower back. I knew somebody who knew somebody, so then that's how we got connected to Proner and Proner. My first impressions about Proner and Proner were very good. I looked, the reviews online, and a lot of people were pleased with the service, so I decided to go with Proner and Proner. The process, dealing with accidents is always, very stressful, but they were always with me, every point of the way. They made it easier for me, I feel very pleased with the results, and I would recommend the attorneys to friends and families and relatives too.